everybody. It is 7:30 in the evening here in Singapore. So hello to everybody. And so this is the second installment of the webinar that we're doing together. And today we are talking about, so the last time we talked about volunteerism and how to use volunteers effectively as gift of voice, gift of influence that will help fundraising. Today, we are going to look at being strategic about our fundraising because usually, we try to raise funds. We all mean well. We know we need the money or the resources to meet the work of a mission, but we don't necessarily do it in a very systematic manner. It's not bad to be opportunistic. Sometimes there is an opportunity, we should jump on it. But it is best that we actually have a plan because, frankly, then you know what you're praying for. If you have a goal and a plan, then we have something to pray towards to say, for that plan to be blessed. So today, what we're going to really talk about is to understand the fundamentals of fundraising. I'm going to touch on fundamentals. If you remember my class from 2 years back, I had touched on the fundamentals even then. Because anything we should start with the get the first principles right before we jump into the details of fundraising. Second is we talk about communicating how the CADIS mission is, in a compelling way and a donor-centric way. So we need to be centric in terms of our mission, and we also need to understand the donor, so that we are aligning our mission with their, their motivations. So we will talk about that. And then I'm going to share some examples just to get your juices, the brain a little excited, so that we can then talk about what are some possibilities in your own countries with fundraising. So before we go into details, I want to play this little game with you. Father Aris will send you into 3 rooms. In 3 minutes, I want you to solve this puzzle. Yeah. Has anybody solved it?
To me, it should be a word.
And what is the word?
Issues.
Issues is, yeah, but then how many issues are there?
10 issues.
So say it fast and see what word comes out. Try saying it aloud, all of y'all. Try saying it aloud.
10 issues.
10 issues, 10 issues, 10 issues.
What
10
is
issues,
it?
10 issues, 10 issues.
Yeah.
Grace solved it.
What is the word?
Tension.
10 issues.
10 issues.
Tension.
Yes, that's what it is. 10 issues.
10 issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so go back to the team. Who wants to try solving
Team inside the team, we find all the alphabets, no?
Do you find all the alphabets?
Yeah.
What's missing?
I.
Yeah, so what's the phrase?
I is missing in the team.
Yes, so
Yes.
what is the phrase?
There is
There's
no
no I in team.
Yes, there is no
Yes.
I in team.
Team.
It's
Good,
always
good,
about
good, good.
us, no
Oh,
I.
very good.
Very good,
Okay,
very
the
good.
third
Yeah.
one. Third one.
E.
Has a
Taramar
connection
goes
to
to
Bible.
E and C.
Huh?
Taramar starts from C and goes back to E, and then it goes back to C.
Yeah, that could be. A clue is it's something to do with the Bible. Something that Jesus said, actually.
Cheek.
Show the other cheek to your
Yes.
enemy.
Turn the other's cheek.
On the other,
Oh,
the
very
other
good.
cheek.
Do you see that? Okay, now we go to, let's see from our group here, how are we doing with regards to, we are about 20 over participants. Where on the scale, fundraising scale, is your personal experience? Not the organization, but your personal experience. Father Ari, will you launch this poll 1, please? Okay.
It's all now there.
Yes, please vote. So as I mentioned in the slide, if you are just starting off, it's 1 or 2, early stage, 3 or 4, some experience, 5 or 6, and then if you're an expert, 7 or 8.
I would like to have some clarification. Is it referring to our personal or as a
Personal. It's your
Personal.
personal experience scale. You know, you're not as the organization, but you individually.
okay.
Yes. So everybody can see the results, right? So many of us, so if we take 4 and above, we are like 20, 30, 40, about 50% of you are in the 4 and below, that is in the early stage. And the remaining, another 11, 20, 30, yeah, another 40 to 50%. So half and half between early stage and some experience or experts. Now, 2 of you said 5, 6, 7. Those of you who said about 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 7 of you said you have some experience or are in the expert level. May I know who you are so that we can, you can add to the body of knowledge we are creating here. May I know? Those of you who voted for 5, 6, or 7. Sorry, can we go to the next slide, please? Next poll, rather.
Okay. So second poll.
Yes, the second poll, please.
Okay.
Okay. Now the question is, how confident are you? Now, this is in terms of not your personal confidence. It is the entity you belong to, the CADIS, whichever country you are in. How confident are you that you can develop a workable fundraising plan for the next year and coming year? Good. Yes. So about 60% of us are somewhat confident, which is good. And then the other 40% is confident or very confident. 2 of you said very confident. I would love to hear. And that's a good thing because that's what, when we are confident of something, obviously we did something. May I ask you to share what did you do that, the plans in place, or what makes you confident that you do have a workable fundraising plan? Would one of you talk to it, please? 4 of you voted either very confident or confident. So may I know? Can you speak up? Yes, Chris, let's go first.
So we just finished a strategic plan for fundraising, and that we incorporated our board, the priest that we work with, as well as our CEO. We also asked for an additional person to be in fundraising, which we were granted. So they understand the importance of it and the need for it and the expense to have an additional employee. And we have a track record that we're trying to build on. So we've had success in the past. We're taking that success and trying to grow that where we know we can grow it. So not only is it the confidence of the strategic plan, but it's also the support we are getting from the organization to know the importance of fundraising, and then also basing it on the history that we've had in the past of raising money.
Perfect. Yes. And what really I liked is it's a team game. Fundraising is a team game. It's about right from the board through to everybody in the organization. It's a team game. So when we talk about strategic fundraising, if it's just 1 or 2 of you doing the planning and doing the execution and doing the delivery, highly likely it could be it's a success, but it can't be sustained, because for whatever reason, if you're not in the picture, that thing won't work. So when you need to do a sustained fundraising effort, you really need to ensure there is, the whole organization is at it together, on the board, the priest, the CEO, the staff. And the second thing I liked from what Chris talked about is the investment. It's an investment, bringing in a fundraising, someone who is focused on fundraising, who will do the follow-up and things like that. That's an investment. And then when you're strategic about it, you want to ensure that return on investment is being worked on. Like by spending so much, we can actually raise so much more, and hence it's worth spending that, making that investment in a fundraising staff or in a fundraising database, whatever the case may be. Anybody else from the group who voted for 6 or 7? Come, speak up. What makes you? Yes, Father Peter.
Yeah, I voted very confidence because I had an experience where we had a medical camp, and we tried to raise funds as an organization here in Uganda. And it gave me hope that fundraising is possible, because we took some steps, we wrote to some people, then it was positive. Most of them, they gave us medicine, they gave us personnel. So this gave me the hope that fundraising is possible. So I'm confident that once we take it up, then it is possible.
Perfect. And next time when we do the webinar, we will talk about donor stewardship, because once getting the first donation is a brilliant first step, but ensuring they take the journey with us for the long term. Now that's the stewardship part. Yeah, we will talk more about that when we come to it in the next webinar. But lovely to hear that, you actually reached out and people responded. And one of the things that you talked about is gift in kind. So sometimes we may get donation in cash, but sometimes we can get donations in gift in kind, products or whatever. So you want to make sure that you have a menu of things they can help you with. So when you're doing the fundraising, having a menu, in cash, how much do we need? In kind, what can we ask for specifically? We don't want them just giving things which we don't need. Then we they feel they have helped, but it's not of much value in meeting the mission. So you want to make sure you know your wish list of things that you gift in kind that you would ask for. And then, of course, we talked about it the last time when we talked about the volunteers, the gift of voice. If they can't give cash, they can't give products or gift in kind, can they give us the gift of voice? They may not be in a position to help, but they may know someone who's in a position to help. So they give the gift of voice by sharing this information with someone or introducing us to someone who then expands that network for us. So those are, just some, and it's your story. So I'm happy that we are talking about it, because you've done it, and you know that it could work, and it has worked. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Those that we have done with the poll. For some reason, let's talk about the fundamentals of fundraising. And I'm going to share with you these 4 fundamentals. One, of course, those of you who were with me the last time, you would have heard me, and this is like my soapbox. Fundraising is not about money. Every time when we think fundraising, unfortunately, around the world, first thing people think is, oh, we need to ask for money. Fundraising is not about money. If fundraising is not about money, then what is fundraising? What would you say is fundraising? If fundraising is not about money, I'm telling you, fundraising is not about money, then what is fundraising about?
It's more of what I feel is, from my own personal experience, what I feel is fundraising is more of sharing, humanity. like sharing the it's fundraising it's an opportunity to interact with people who want to serve the people,
Yes.
the country.
Perfect.
In a
Yeah,
different,
fundraise. That's true.
It's
Fundraising.
fundraising, maybe.
Yeah, a fundraising, and that's a good one. Fundraising is about friend raising. And just like, you know, you don't just go to the friend when we want money, right? We are always friends. And then when sometimes we need help, the friend is there for us. So it's the same with fundraising. Fundraising is about a need in the community that we are trying to meet, and we are reaching out to friends so that, and it doesn't mean it has to be our friend. Anybody who believes in the cause or who is being introduced to the cause can become a friend of ours. So fundraising is not about money. It is about a need that exists in our communities that we are trying to address. The second principle of fundraising that I have found, I've been at this for like 35, 36 years now. And one of the things I find is people give to people. People do not give to organization. So people don't give, oh, please support CADIS in Uganda. Yeah, maybe not. But please help, you know, Mr. So-and-so, who is, you know, a victim of a disaster or whatever the case may be. That makes sense to people. People give to people. People don't give to organizations. Does that make sense? So when you talk about the narrative, you want to say through CADIS, not to CADIS. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because we are asking for people who need help in our communities, but through CADIS, they will receive that help in a more sustained, stable way. The third fundamental of fundraising is not about asking. Because very often I get people saying, Usha, oh, it's so embarrassing to ask. And very often people don't, you know, do the fundraising because they just feel, oh, it's so embarrassing to ask. How many of you feel, oh, it's so embarrassing to ask? Like, you know, go and ask people, will you give donations? Will you give gifts in kind? It's a natural feeling. Asking is never comfortable, even within family members. It's not comfortable. But the principle of fundraising is not about asking. What's the opposite of asking?
Giving.
Huh? Yes, Pap?
Giving.
Giving, yes. Fundraising is about giving. Fundraising is about giving others an opportunity to make a difference. We have been blessed to have the opportunity to do something that will change the world, will change the life of one person in our community, will change the course of the work being done in a community. We have been blessed to be able to do that. And we are giving that opportunity to the others to say, come, take this journey with us and let's make the difference. So fundraising is not about asking, it's about giving. And when it is about giving, there's nothing more blessed than someone who is able to give, right? It's whichever, like, you know, the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, whichever book we read, it always says it's always more blessed to give than to receive, right? So we as fundraisers, you know, when we put on the hat of a fundraiser, it's the most blessed thing we have the opportunity to do, to give others an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do remember that. And then, of course, the last one is you do not get what you do not ask. You know, ask and you shall receive, seek and you will find. You need to seek what you want. You know, so if you are trying to raise, just as an example, $10,000, you need to be able to articulate, with $10,000, this is what we would do. With $100,000, this is what we would do. With $5, this is what we could do. And so when you articulate that, people know in their heads, oh, I can't give them $10,000, but I could maybe think of giving them $100. Every dollar counts. So you do not get what you do not ask for. So when you articulate clearly, so if you're talking to a big donor, you won't say $100, right? You know he or she comes from better financial situation. You may say $1,000 or $10,000. And if you're doing street fundraising, you may say $1 a day would make a difference, or 10 cents a day would make a difference, depending on the campaign that you are running. So you need to know what is it you are asking for, so that you can articulate in your fundraising literature, on your website, in your letters, exactly what you want, because very often many organizations just generically say, we need your support. And the poor donor, the potential donor, has no clue. What do you mean by we need my support? Is $10 too big, too small? Is $100 too big, too small? Is it a couple of hours of my time? Is it a whole day of my time? Nobody knows what support means. So you have to articulate that through CADIS, we will be able to do this for a community or a person or a family, and that's going to cost us so much. And through our collaborative efforts, people give to people, we're giving you an opportunity to make a difference. And your $10 would mean, or your $1,000 would mean, and I'm using dollar just as a generic term, whatever the local currency is, will make a difference. And we are delighted that we have an opportunity to make this difference, and we would like to offer you that same opportunity. That kind of sounds easier to say yes to than, oh, please, will you make a donation? Will you give us a support? And it's easier for them to say, oh, I'm sorry, I just did some, I just spent somewhere else. I'm not able to. Principles of fundraising. Any thoughts, comments, questions on that? Yes, Matthew. You're on mute. And do you have your hand up, Matthew? Oh, no. Okay. All right. Sorry. Anybody else? Robert, are you saying something? Bob, are you saying something? You are on mute. You're still on mute.
Is that better?
Bob and then Paul. Yes. Go for it, Bob.
Okay, I just wanted to comment about the 4 reasons. And basically, one of the main reasons is the ongoing work that we do with one of the largest hardware conglomerates here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
When Marie first approached the management of Bunnings, they asked us what we were going to do with the funding. And immediately Marie said, 99.9% of what we will do will be going towards the homeless in Sydney and Brisbane. Now, that opened a major door with us, with this major conglomerate, and Father Ming and I henceforth went out and visited quite a few of these Bunningses, sent in applications, and we received great responses from them, and we are ongoingly receiving quite a lot of funding from there. Bunnings don't take anything off us at all. The money that we earn on those days on the sausage sizzles comes completely to us. We have one major, very, very big store in Sydney where we have the Lay Chameleon family in Sydney coming on board with us through Father Ray, Father Mike and Father Reuben. They assist us in that store because it's a big, big outlet. And we just can't handle it ourselves. So we work in conjunction with Father Ray, and we find that what we do, because the Lay Chameleon family down there go out and they visit the elderly and the homeless, and also the home-struck people that can't go out and buy groceries, etc., etc. Now, also what we do, we purchase at the last time, I think it was $5,000 worth of $20 vouchers of, oh, sorry, Marie just said, no, it's not, it's $40 vouchers that we hand out to the homeless and those most in need. Now, it really means that working as a team is the only way that you will get off the ground floor in fundraising. It's never about us.
Yes.
People ask me sometimes, they do very sincerely ask me, they say, but aren't you more concerned about looking after Catholic people? I said, and my answer to those people is purely this. Please understand, we are a humanitarian organisation.
Mm-hmm.
We don't preach our religion in the field. I said, we have a saying in our organisation, from our heart to our hands. I said, and irrespective of what colour, race or creed, we are there to assist those people most in need. Yeah. And I'm very honoured to be part of that, because it was something that probably 40 years ago, I wouldn't have 40 years ago, I wouldn't have thought about that at all. But I just find that, you know, from a compassionate point of view, you have to wear your heart on your sleeve, and you have to understand these people that are in those situations are very, very desperate people. Yeah. You know, I spoke to a lady, just very quickly, I spoke to a lady in Brisbane the other day. She's been on the streets for 7 years. And the reason why I spoke to her was that I saw her with a portrait of the Divine Mercy where she was laying on the street. Now, I spoke to her and I asked her how long she'd been on the street, and she said 7 years. I said, oh my goodness me, 7 years. I said, that's terrible. I said, Now, we will try and assist you in any way we can, which I'm in the process of doing at the moment, Usha, you know. But everybody has to realise it all starts with us.
It does start with us, yes. And as you may know, Father Aris knows too, I used to be the Asia Pacific Director of an ecumenical Christian organization called Habitat for Humanity. And one of the things we would say is, it's about putting the love and teachings of Jesus Christ into action, but that does not mean we only limit to a particular group or, a religion. So just being clear about that. Father Paul, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I just not ask the question, but just sharing about our situation of fundraising in the Thai province. Well, we have 5 communities that we offer free of charge. And fundraising, we have worked with this many years, but it depends on the talent of the individual. Mm-hmm. That is and right now the situation is more difficult because fundraising that we are doing is limited in the Thai country. Thank God that for Thai people, they are kind to donate to the children more than the elderly, of course. But thank God that they have kindness to give from abroad. It's absolutely, this is zero. But maybe there are some 1 or 2 recently just from the Catholic Mission of Australia that they would like to invest a coffee shop or some kind of activity that can earn for the sustainability. So I just want to say fundraising is very limited to the talent and interesting of the individual, that we have to put the right person in that in the right place. If we put one who don't want to do anything for fundraising, so it is just sharing. Thank you.
Agree. And it is about finding the people who will give to the people who need our help. And that's part of being strategic in our fundraising. So let's look at, that brings us nicely to how do we build a strategic and sustainable plan? You know, it's not about just a one-off success. How do we ensure repeatedly, year after year, month after month, we are being successful in our fundraising? Because our work doesn't stop. You know, we can't just say, oh, today we did well, tomorrow, you know, we don't need to. The need doesn't end. So how are we going to do it? So first, I find the top organizational priorities. So for example, if we are talking about, like Bob was saying, you know, the elderly, the befrienders, you go help out the community who cannot come to. So if that is a priority, then finding how many such people can we support in a year? And then what will it take to do it? Is it a vehicle that we need? Is it you know, cash that we need? Is it volunteers that we need? So having that overall top organization, not a fundraising priority, but how are we going to make a difference in delivering our mission? That we have to identify the top priorities. Once we know that, and highly likely you know it, then what is the outcome we are seeking? That is your fundraising target. We need 100,000 to do these 1, 2, 3 things over the next 2 years, example. Then that's our fundraising target. Once we have the target, how then are we going to get to the target, the goals in order to? So in order to get to the 100,000, we are trying to raise 20,000 from, you know, all the Catholic schools, example again, all the Catholic schools in our region, where we are going to create a school fundraising product, whatever we call it. And when we meet in November, we shall, you know, brainstorm and figure some of those outcomes there. But for now, you know, what is, so yeah, 20% of that is going to come from example schools. Another 30% is going to come from Bob's example or Paul's example, from those few people who believe in what we're doing. And in the past few years, they have been supporting us. So we're going to work more diligently, more deliberately with them to come up with the remaining 30%. And that leaves us with the other 50%. Example, we will do one event. That's going to be our flagship event. Anytime anybody thinks of that event, they think CADIS. It is going to be relevant to the elderly in the community, whatever is the cause that we're working for, disaster response, whatever is the theme that you choose. And we're going to raise the other 40% from that flagship event. And the last 10%, we are going to, you know, do online or whatever else, you know. So that's how you break the big fundraising target into chunks. And those become your objectives. And then the steps. Once we decide we're going to do school fundraising, just as an example, then we know how do we reach out to all the Catholic schools in our country? How do we then, you know, make inroads into the parent groups? What do we do that both instills a pride in working with CADIS for the youth and the young people in our country? And those becomes the action step taken in order to meet the goal and the objectives for which we have set out this fundraising plan. So, so far, you know, it's really about these 4 steps, and within each step, a specific outcome that we are seeking. And once we have done that, we have to think of the ways in which we are going to do it, right? So how are we going to enroll? Get new, and when I say enroll, I mean new donors. Maybe we are going to run an online campaign, or we are going to do that, you know, the signature event, which we do every year during the Martyrs' Day in May, or whatever the something that you anchor down, that anybody thinking about the work of CADIS would know. Come May, there's going to be this event that we are going to be part of. So that's how you enroll. Once you enroll, you want to enhance. So a donor that is giving you, just as an example, $100, you want to nurture the relationship to say, thanks for your one-off gift of $100. We would love for you to become our, give it a nice name, Angel of Hope. Or we can come up with any other name. You know, will you be part of our Angel of Hope program, which is a regular giving program? And we would love for you to join the regular giving. So from $100 one-off, he or she may start giving $10 or $20 a month, which actually raises more in a year because it is through his credit card or through his bank or her bank account. So then you have, from enrollment, you have moved to enhancement. After you've done that, the list is shorter. When you enroll, maybe you have 100 donors, just as an example. Out of the 100, only maybe about 20% decide to join the monthly giving program. So the list is only 20. But within the 20, can we identify someone who correlates? Maybe he or she has a restaurant. Maybe he or she works in a company that has the possibility of making, impacting your fundraising. So you correlate where you are talking about, can we introduce CADIS? Since you already believe in us, you already are a regular donor, will you introduce us to people who could further the blessing? So that's how you correlate. It could be a hairdresser, and I know this in Thailand, I've done this, you know, the hairdressers, can they set aside one day when they will go cut the hair of the elderly, and those paying clients would actually donate for them to go do that. You know, those are cause-related marketing. And it makes sense because the company is seen, or the organization is seen as a caring organization. So their clients feel good about going there to get their hair done at a very high cost. And then, of course, co-create. From that list of 20 or 30, or you may realize there are 1 or 2 people who actually could do a lot more than just give $100 or $1,000 or $5,000. They could actually maybe, you know, underwrite a whole program or a whole project. And that's where you have your major gifts coming in, where you're not just asking for donation, but you are co-creating. We want to end the pain of someone or a group of people. We want to ensure the elderly in our community get their provisions without them having to, you know, put their hand out. And hence we are creating a program with the young from the schools, together with the corporate sector and yourself, that will be this particular objective that we're meeting. So that's where you co-create. And when you co-create, it's no longer about small money. It's really about something substantial that will actually meet the objective of that particular program or the project that you're talking about. And so a typical cycle, you identify who are, and it was Father Peter, right, who said they've identified a few who are, you know, believing in what CADIS is doing in your community. You nurture the relationship. You then make the ask, you know, very specifically as to what, if it's a small ask, a medium ask, a big ask, whatever the levels may be. You thank and recognize them. The best way to recognize them is to invite them to come and see for themselves how the money is being put to good use. And then the stewardship part, where we're saying, next time you come, will you bring a friend along who will believe in us just the way you do? You know, and you may even create a donor bring donor program where those who are already blessing, you know, the organization and the mission feel more blessed that they are able to bring someone new to the group. So that's how the cycle continues year after year in a sustainable manner. And then, of course, fundraising becomes not just something that only 1 or 2 person can do. It's even our donors become our fundraisers. Our volunteers become our fundraisers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now, I want Father Aris, you will send them back into the 3 groups, and this is the, what would you say, the task. In the next 10 minutes, this time you have more time. In the next 10 minutes, identify 5 fundraising strengths that exist in your country or the organization to support CADIS's fundraising. You know, maybe it is something that other Catholic organization, other Christian organization, or any charity has tried. And, you know, we could do it. It's just that we've not tried it yet. Or it's something that you have already tried and you know is a strength. If it's working in Uganda, maybe it will work in Burkina Faso, or it could work in Haiti. You know, so you're sharing so that we can get more ideas of what strengths do we have among us, because there's no I in a team, right? So among us, what are the strengths we have that we could share and build over time, or something within our organization that we could enhance? Yeah. So I want per group 5 fundraising strengths. Okay, can we go with group number 1? Room number
Okay.
1? Yes, go for it.
I have just take noted because Consuelo was not able to enter our room.
Okay, no worries. So you do both the jobs.
Okay. So we identify based according to our country of origin. So there is a very strong group of volunteers that help us in fundraising. There is also a very good Paris-based and social media-based group that facilitates in the fundraising efforts. One offer us writing project proposal, allow them to receive a lot of funds. There is also an identified strength on the tradition of the missionary efforts, where people or Catholics particularly could easily give to places, to fundraising projects that given at hand. There is also a country that give us the manpower, meaning to say the religious are collaborating well in fundraising effort, together with collaboration with the group of religious, or particularly those Paris-based groups. And one country shared that the legacy of the chameleon missionaries that people really experience even in the past until now, that allow them to be generous in giving to any projects facilitated by the chameleons in that country.
Well done. Well done. And sometimes, yes, our history, you know, the history of how the chameleon movement came about in itself is a great motivator.
The legacy, we call it legacy of the chameleon missionaries.
Brilliant, brilliant. And all the other, and social media, we will come to it in a moment. And that is something about keeping with the times, right? How do we ensure the possibilities, the new possibilities are fully leveraged? Okay, good job. Give yourself a round of virtual applause. All right. Okay, room 2. Can we go to room 2? Alphonse, was it? Who was in room 2? Okay, Matteo, yeah, unmute yourself and please present.
Julia, from the CADIS general CADIS point of view, central CADIS point of view, they shared one of the important strengths of CADIS at the central is networking with other organizations. And not only just networking with other organizations, networking within the members of the organization and outside of CADIS, like with other organizations. And from a member from USA, shared something very interesting. He said one of the important strengths in USA is that people have a great sense of giving. So we have to manipulate the great sense of healing, basically. So market the product which is good, and then try to manipulate the and see. And then he also said there are very rich people, extremely wealthy and successful people. So, and he said it's not so difficult to reach out to them. So that is one of the things that he said. And he also said about retirement communities. There is a movement among the retirement communities of how funding can be mobilized. And in India, Father CB shared a very interesting, one of the important strengths in India is that we have a very strong support from the churches, local churches, all over India. So we have been identified as one of the key disaster player. So everybody, once there is a disaster, they come back to us. So that's, as a result, we don't need to struggle for human resource. There is a great volunteerism. People are just move out. We don't need to search for people. We don't need to waste time on that. Yeah. And it is like among all the churches, chameleons are known as a key player in disaster relief movement. And another important point from USA, Father was also saying that CADISM, because we are completely immersed into and dedicated our lives for the CADISM, that the legacy that he was talking about, the history of chameleons, and the kind of work that we do, CADISM attracts more donors to CADIS and to chameleon CADISM, and that is impacting people driven by faith. So that is one of the important idea. Then from the Indonesia, part of Indonesia, Father just came in, and then he couldn't speak a long time. But one of the things that he said is that there should be there are people to support, but there should be a convincing reason why we are asking for money. And people are convinced of why we are asking for money, and if they know the reason, there are people to support.
Perfect. And that's so true. Seek and you shall find. But we need to be able to articulate the reason for it. And again, this whole legacy of the chameleon movement, something we should, and I've told Father Aris also, maybe when we meet again in November, we should be creating a singular global campaign, how we can leverage this legacy. So it's the same message, different languages maybe, but building on the legacy of the chameleon, as potentially even as a flagship event. And this whole retirement community, the brand recognition related to disaster response, when it comes to, disaster response equals chameleon movement, kind of that brand recognition are all things that we can leverage on. Good job. And then the point about a convincing reason, I'll give you a template as homework to start thinking about the convincing reason, the reason for the fundraising, right? What the fundraising, the end in itself is the impact we have, but the means to the end is the fundraising. So what is the story we're going to say as to the reason for the fundraising? Good. Okay. Let's go to room 3, please. Who from room 3 is going to present?
Group 3?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, yes. Well, we were speaking about the strength following the principles of fundraising. And we saw one of the strengths is the willingness to learn about the problem. The second one, an empathetic and understanding attitude. Another one, the ability to communicate with many different people, no? And also the capacity of planning. in Uganda, it was interesting, said that the strength is to have a strong faith of God. Benny and the Philippines said that the strength is to develop community. I think this is very important. And also the strength or organizing work of voluntaries, continuously are organizing the work of voluntaries. And Father Paul says, view a problem that many people ask where the money donated is going to. So perhaps it's necessary like strength to inform the people. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't understand because I don't hear well what Burkina Faso says as the strength.
Okay. Maybe Father Pascal, you want to chip in here because Consuelo couldn't catch what
No,
you
I
said.
couldn't hear well.
I couldn't hear well. Brother Pascal, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Unmute your mic. Oh.
Are you
All right.
hearing me?
Okay, okay.
Yes. So I was saying that it's like in other countries, when people give money, they want to know how it was used. So in my country, what we have particularly is the fact of the insecurity. So many people moved from their own place to go to another place. So as CADIS, we went many times near them to be with them, collect their difficulties and try to know what we can do. So in many cases, we bring food and other things they need, and we try to rehabilitate a school for in one town. So those who gave us money when we went for the first time and the other times, we tried to do the feedback, and so they were very happy. And one school now, I think last year they celebrate their 50 jubilees. So in this school, the former schools people try to meet and collect money and give us.
All right.
So
Okay.
so they need to know what the money was used to do. That is what I was saying. And now we try to plan to do a fair. I don't know if the word is very is good pronounced, to collect money. That is what I was saying.
Perfect. And yes, and the whole displacement, the disaster causes the displacement of people. So very often when we are talking about where the money goes, or how can we convince people to be able to get people, the donors and the volunteers to imagine what happens when these kind of disaster displace families, displace communities, displace friends and relatives. The whole emotional, physical, and economical impact of that is what the convincing story needs to be about. Yeah. And that makes total sense. And I know Jimmy in the chat said that the lobbying, so just like we were talking about the brand recognition, when disaster happens, like Matthew was saying, or Sibi was sharing, that immediately people think of the chameleon movement as the people to connect with. Similarly, the lobbying ability of the movement with the local governments, where you are able to do that, again, is strength. So, there are so many strengths. Each of you, I asked for 5. We have 15 plus, strengths that we have. We should be building on these strengths. Remember these strengths that if we don't have locally, let's learn from those who have it. But I'm pretty confident that most of the strengths we talked about, irrespective of the country, if we can create in our own countries or regions that we work in. So these 5 strengths that I asked for is more to give us the confidence that when we do go out to raise funds, we should be able to effectively utilize our strengths to do the good work that we are meant to do, the reason for the fundraising, the mission of the CADIS movement. Good job. Let's go to talking about, and that brings us to the communication. Because at the end of the day, and goes back to the questions you were asking, right? Where does the money go? What is the need that is being addressed? All of those questions that, and rightly so, donors have. How do we communicate in a donor-centric manner? And what do I mean by donor-centric manner? When we think of individuals, there are different kinds of individuals. There are mass individuals, the people who come to church and make a donation, like Father Aris was saying, right? Rome, with all the tourists coming in at the Church of the Magdalena. They are making donations. That's mass. We don't know who they necessarily are sometimes. We could have a way in which, if it is a QR code or online way of giving, we could capture some details. So those are the masses where the donation may be smaller, but from many people. Then we have the middle. They are generally the regular givers. So if you have someone giving $1 a day, $30 a month, over a year, would have given $360 dollars in a year, right? So similarly, then they come into the middle. The way you communicate with a regular donor is different than the way you will communicate with a mass donor. And then you have a major donor. Maybe somebody who has been giving every month, and now you have created that co-creation journey, and you're asking them for $10,000. The way you would talk to someone you are asking or reaching out for $10,000 is different from what you would ask for someone who's dropping a $10 in the box. So each profile has a different way in which you will communicate. Similarly with the corporates, and Bob was talking about Australia, the hardware shop, a hardware company, right? That's like a big company. So that either it is a multinational company or a local company. So there are companies who are willing to, and especially with disaster response and resilience, there are a lot of companies who are working on that. They may be the ones. So the way you talk to a multinational, MNC is multinational company, is different from the way you would talk to a local company, which in turn is different from the way you would talk to a SME, a small and medium enterprise. It could be the restaurant in the village or the city that you are in. It could be a hairdresser, as in the early example that I show, right? Those are small businesses, but then still they would be able to be of value to the mission of CADIS. And then, of course, you have your foundations. We are not going to go into the grant writing. Foundations is generally the grant writing methodology. And then you have the organization, like the churches that we talked about, the parish, or schools that we talked about, education, or civic organizations like the Lions Club or the women's wing of some entity. Those are the civic organization, the Rotary clubs. So you don't have to be playing in each quadrant, but you can, in your strategic fundraising plan, say which quadrant, which box are you going to work on for the next 2 years or 3 years. And you may choose 2 or 3 of the boxes, and over time, hopefully, you're playing in all the boxes here. But for starters, you are choosing 1 or 2 boxes and really doing a good job of. Does that make sense? Okay, Father CADIS, Father Aris, will you launch the 2 polls that we have? Because we're going to talk about currently which of those boxes are you playing in, or which of the boxes are you, delivering your fundraising results from? Okay. So 50% of the organizations out of the 20 that voted, say the email outreach or website, the mass. 25% do it through events. Major gifts, about 9 out of 20 of you. So I want each of you to remember this, how you voted, because later when I do the homework, I want you to, when you're planning, I want you to put down examples of how you've done it, because if for 9 of you it has worked, maybe another few more it will work, right? So we can learn from each other. 8 of you said from large companies in terms of donations and sponsorships. So let's learn how they're doing it. Some of you said from small companies. 30% of you said, 6 out of 20 said from small neighborhood organization. Brilliant, because that's your stakeholder group. You should be working, quite effectively with them. Let's learn from them. Foundations, yes, 50%. And then some of you with schools, churches, and so on, 50% of you. So this is a good way of knowing the lay of our land, who is doing it, and what has been your successes. So this is not for now, but this is something we will work towards, like homework for November. When we meet in November for the workshop, prior to the workshop, I would like you to choose from this at least 3 success stories, and not just success like, oh, we raised money. Exactly what was it? What was the profile of the donor you worked with? What did you do right? What lessons did you learn, if there were lessons to be learned? And what was the outcome? And is that a sustained relationship? So those are like, and I will give you a template later when you start in preparation to ask you, so that we have a collection of stories, fundraising stories, success stories that will both inspires each other as well as give us ideas. Because when you talk to a donor to say, oh, our donor in Thailand did this and it's been so brilliant, we'd love for you to do something like this here, may just trigger the ability of that donor to say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, let's try it here too, and so on and so forth. So a hardware shop, if it works in Sydney, there's no reason why it wouldn't work in India or in Kenya or wherever. So using those examples and sharing it with our donors, potential donors, would be something that you would want to start collecting and collaborating and working on, so that we are getting really strong in our fundraising. And we are not just, getting ideas from the air, so to say. Somebody within our family has tried it and it has worked. So we want to replicate it. That feels so much more stronger than something that's far out. Does that make sense? So this will be part of, our collective learning that we will be working on going forward. All right, can we go to the next question, the next poll, Father Aris?
Okay.
Okay, now that let's keeping with the times. Let's see how are we keeping with the times when it comes to outreach to our donors, using the various ways in which we could communicate with our donors, or potential donors, or volunteers, or parish members. All right, so most of you, about 60%, use the website, and then email, 80% of you, well done. And when you do, I put example MailChimp, because one thing is sending it out from your Outlook. But if you use, and there are even free apps like MailChimp, where you actually know how many people opened, your email, how many of them clicked on which link within the email. You get all that analytics at the background. So I hope you are utilizing, so you're not just sending out the email and waiting that somebody will respond, but you're actually using the analytics to kind of make it even more successful. Blogs, one of you said you use blog, which is a good thing. Getting our volunteers to write about their experience when they were doing disaster response, or writing about a father who worked or the priest who worked in the hardware shop to reach out to the elderly who couldn't make it to the shop. Example, those are kind of blog content that you could use and create a way of communicating with the donors. Social media, of course, 78, nearly 80% of you. Some of you have been using things like display advertisement, Facebook ads, which kind of promotes anybody who talks about their faith, example, the Christian faith, for example, or the Catholic faith, or the Pope, or whatever. The ads will kind of find those people, and then the ask is displayed to them. So that again helps us reach out to people who may be more aligned with the way CADIS works. Mobile apps, 3 of you have mobile apps, and about 20% of you use QR codes for quick access so that they don't have to key in a lot of information. They can quickly go to the website and then make the donation. Well done. So most of you are using some of the areas. So over time, we would want to see how we are progressing in the utilization and success. Utilization is one thing, but making it successful is the other thing. One of you said you use blog. Who was it who said so? That you use a blog as part of content marketing? Who was it? Because that would be quite a good story to talk about. Anybody? Okay, you can always, as part of homework, do some of the updates in that. Yeah. So that brings us, and since we are on the point of social media, I just wanted to share with you some of the things that makes social media even stronger, making sure that the giving is social. So let me share. So we go to social giving, which is basically about the way people are now, do you have a cause ambassador, who will inspire others to support? Again, this goes back to the gift of voice, right? The ambassador may be a priest who is loved by the people in the community. He could be your cause ambassador to say, the work of CADIS is exceptional. I really hope you will support them. And believes in the cause and supports your organization. Is based on the love for your cause because they genuinely care for the work being done, and they reach out to their supporters and become ambassadors for the cause. So those are cause ambassadors. That's different from influencers. Influencers are the content creators that are making the reels and the TikToks and the Facebook posts and all of that. They have an audience, but sometimes they adopt a good organization to talk about, to support, to share. So they may not do necessarily only for the love of your cause. They may also do it for their own brand image. So you want to, of course, make sure you're sort of ensuring that the people that you are associated with are aligned with the mission of the organization and the values that CADIS hold. But there are plenty of such influencers who are very popular within certain groups, young people, corporate people, religious people, whatever the case may be, where they can ask their followers to support. And if you're running a campaign and you have an influencer saying that CADIS is running this campaign, and I think it's brilliant, automatically people will go check what is this campaign about. And then when they see your campaign and feel touched by it, they would give. So the influencer themselves may not give per se, but they surely influence their followers to, they reach out to their support group. So you want to think about who are the cause ambassadors in your community, in your country, in your region, and then start working with them to see how you can amplify what the campaigns that you're running beyond within your circle of contacts and influence. I'm not going to go into these. This is part of the deck that's already been given to you. Different ways in which organizations have been raising funds. So, it's a step-by-step segmenting in the case of the hospital, how they ran a delivering heavenly results campaign to get to, how they analyze their data. So how fundraising is getting very, very sophisticated if you want it to be. It doesn't have to be, it could be just fun, like the Lego. Dr. Father Aris, when you was talking about the Church of the Magdala, if we could do like a Lego thing, everyone who comes donates a Lego piece that goes into recreating the church using Lego or any other methodology, would be a great way, buy a brick campaign. And the good thing about it is it's different from dropping. Even if you had $100 in a coin box, you wouldn't know who gave the $100. But if you had something like buy a brick or something like that, you would know who bought the brick, for how much, how many, and then you can always create a donor appreciation, donor relation with them, even if they go back to their country to talk to their friends about having bought a brick in Italy for the work of CADIS globally or whatever, so those are things that one could think, the global engagement possibility. The other giving is like the giving machine. People are so used to buying from the vending machine. Can you work with one of your vending machine vendors to say, for the campaign, can you make it a giving machine instead of a vending machine? And it could be different things that people could buy or donate to the cause that you're a giving machine. So those are different ways. And if you look at the numbers are growing with these kind of vending machine, giving machine ideas. Then of course, again, looking at how Kappa did it with the Afghan refugee requirements, how they worked with the women in Afghanistan to help them, and the kind of campaigns. So do you have an advertising or a PR organization, a commercial organization, who would adopt you, the local CADIS, as their CSR, and create all these kind of collaterals that would require a lot of money if we were to do it ourselves, but they would do it for free because they have adopted the campaign and provided the creative in a very ethical way and authentic way. So how can CADIS be using some of these ideas? All right, so that brings us to the end of the session per se. This is a homework that I'm leaving you with, and that goes back to the question asked, right? Where does my money go? What is the need we are? So in order to do that, we really need to be able to articulate what is the means and what is the end. What will success look like? If I raise $1 million, what will success look like? Success will look like how many families that were displaced were helped, or, that's what success will look like. And what is the means to that? There will be two prongs. One is the programmatic means, where the volunteers are working, the program folks are working to ensure they're identifying the families displaced, they are doing what needs. And then there's the fundraising means, whereby you're running the campaign and we are planning to raise whatever amount. And that's the means to the end of bringing dignity and solace to the people who have been impacted by a disaster, or the resilience building that is good, so that the end in itself is the resilience building, and how CADIS is the means to the end by helping those families. So those are the ways in which you would then, and this is a template. Later, Father CADIS and I will be sending you. This is all preparatory work for the November workshop when we spend time together. But in the meanwhile, it's for you to start thinking of what is your input for your country, for your organization, towards these templates that are being offered. All right, that brings me to the end of today, right at the bottom of the hour. We've been together for 2 hours. I had fun. I hope you did too. And hope some of the conversations and, got your mind thinking about the possibilities of how you're going to create a more strategic fundraising plan.
Okay, so thank you very much, Usha, for your time, and thank you to all who have been participating today. We are 28 today, so thank you very much for your participation. And please don't forget, our next webinar will be on August. Okay, thank you once again.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.